we're transitioning into the adult conversations, but I feel like, and maybe that's just a feeling that I have, is as adults, we feel like we always have to be adults and be responsible because we have our jobs and because we provide and or we need to support a household, whatever, finances, right? All of this comes into place. And how do we now transition and balance working from home or even at our jobs while knowing that our kids are home, right? So there's just a lot of transitioning, I think, roads here. But what I mean by saying this is how can we adults also kind of take a step back and maybe tap into our inner child? If our child wants to do a cartwheel, I say go do one with them. Why, if you're able to do one? I mean, my cartwheels are so different nowadays than they were when I was a kid. I can't do half of the things that I was able to do, and maybe because I'm not as active as someone else could be. But I think, or even if you want to make a silly pancake on the side, I think we all need a laugh today. Not about the typical things that we always laugh about, but about the silly things that we can laugh about without feeling that we're going to be judged or stereotyped by it, as long as you're doing it in a comfort of safety, as long as you're doing it in a safe environment, and that the feelings that are being reciprocated with your kids or even partners. Why not? Why not? We know we have to go back to our jobs. We know we have to sit in front of this computer, and our kids are sitting in front of the computer. But do something that can make you also feel good, not as a child, but also as an adult.
Yeah, you're so right. When you think of transitional objects and how sometimes when kids go to school and you're feeling anxious and we provide them with transitional objects to
Mm,
remind their parents, whether it's a chain, whether it's photographs of the parents, whether it's a handkerchief or a blanket, right?
mm-hmm.
And how we too have transitional objects sometimes at work, a photograph of our family, whether it's, drawer, depending on the industry, that we have private mementos that remind us of our connections to people and people whom we love and we feel safe with. And and I think, and I wonder, for us, right, can activities in our home, instead of our mindset, I guess, becomes a transitional item. How wonderful that our home can be the place that we work and live and to teach, almost as a way to come from a place of appreciation because we perpetuate what we appreciate, right? And to
Mm,
counter that
mm-hmm.
the anxiety, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this all?
Well, I think this is where our mindset was for most parents, professionals
Yeah.
back in March, right? And we had that in some ways a lot of conversation about it last week. Is we could do this. Great, we're working from home. Yes, no. The reality hit 2, 3 weeks later when you were able to realize that some of the things don't work. Then we have to figure out what is it that can work, right? Because we became frustrated and fatigued because we're in front of this computer again. I mean, I was definitely not used to working in front of the computer.
Yeah.
We both, right? We were used to always having clients in person, and we had those 10 minutes in between, to whether it is to run to each other's offices, to say hello, to disconnect, to be real. Now
Yeah.
now where is your 10 minutes, right? It's running to the kitchen, um, or making sure that something's going okay. So there's no separation in there, right? Because we're not in our, I was going to say ideal jobs, but really that separation,
Yeah.
a part of not being home.
Mm.
Um, so
I remember in
transition.
graduate school where my separation, because we have to study for hours and hours, right? And that.
Mm,
So, but I knew that I needed a break, and on the hour, I would get up and I would go to the kitchen and reward myself with one little Hershey Kiss chocolate. would walk to the kitchen, pick one out, and say, "Good job, Ryan."
Just one.
I had better
Mm,
control in those days.
mm.
I didn't have much money, so I really had to ration
We love those Hershey kisses.
it. I would have one. I'm like, how
Mm,
wonderful. And what I would do is I would make tea as well. So, and I microwave. So there was a 3 minute water boiling, then I bring it out. And so all that came up to a 5 minute break essentially.
mm,
And I would go back. And that would go on for about 5 hours. I would study 5 hours a night, you know, and I would do that and that became my way of like giving my brain a break because some of the stuff was really like, what am I reading here? Am I brain?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The lack of focus, right?
To
Um,
re-energize and refocus. But just
well,
walk out of my bedroom where my study desk was to the kitchen in my dorm room, in my dorm apartment, was was a simple but helpful transitional experience for me. And I think
mm-hmm.
for us at work, just going to after writing our progress notes, running to the bathroom,
That was our
uh,
break.
do a little
Mm-hmm,
self-care, and then like mindfulness
mm-hmm,
walking back into the office as we prepare and
mm,
to put ourselves back together again from a place of worthiness and empowerment and empathy so that we are ready for the next session. And we do
mm-hmm.
that for, many hours maybe.
And I feel like in some ways what we're talking about today too is the ability to do our jobs, but also slow down, right?
Mhm.
Because we feel rushed, whether it's at home or I
Yeah,
don't know about necessarily working remotely in our offices, right? I'm in my office today. Um, so I'm able to have that separation, even though most of my clients are still, they feel safe by doing this. And I respect that.
yeah,
But I think the part of slowing down is, and especially, and I'm thinking of families where there is more kids, more
yeah,
parents, and everybody is still at home, is how do you find balance, avoid, lack of a better terminology, chaos at home or the loudness, right? Because some of us might not have necessarily enough of space in the house. So now how do we do this? So the ability to slow down, and I'm thinking about even your example with the tea and the Hershey Kiss, is not to rush and run out of our office just because you got to do A, B, and C, but to maybe slow down, mindful walking, mindful ability to not to forget what you're doing, that you're making a tea or eating the Hershey Kiss, but that you're taking your time tasting, right? What it tastes like, what this tea will taste like. So I think,
yeah.
right, slowing down as we transition, whether it's back to the next client, back to the next homework assignment, back to the next class.
There's something to be said. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's so many different scenarios that we may not even consider.
Oh,
When we
yes.
were kids, thinking about my parents and they had four hyperactive children and how
Yes.
rules and
Yes.
screaming at us was so essential to getting our attention, to getting to
There's
eat.
there's
Oh,
so many different topics here, right?
I,
And
yeah,
of course, we have our viewers, and hopefully, those that are seeing these videos, and hopefully, they're gaining some insight and knowledge and enjoyment in these videos. If you like it, subscribe. Um, is that we are here to really discuss a lot of these things. And even if our viewers have questions or what is it that they would like to talk about or hear, or what advice can we give, that's what we're here for.
yeah,
We're here to discuss some of these things that are going
yeah,
on because they are real.
yeah.
But we are also here to hear others.
Yeah.
Really, what
Our
is it that
perspective
they
is
need?
very unique to ours, and it may not pertain to a lot of other people, and so having their
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and having those conversations
Mm-hmm.
are important because
And even with transitioning, right? I mean, that's one of those topics that we are having today is talking to someone, right? Because we know all of this is difficult and we can all do what we can, what works, maybe in a moment. It may not work next week, but whatever works, we try to do our best to make it work. Of course, I don't think we I don't think we can say we do things because they don't work. So I think we all want to make sure that things work, that they make sense, that they balance, and there's a lot of different personalities that come into it. But I think
Yeah,
what I'm trying.
everything we do is trying to protect our self-esteem and our survival. So keep
Mm-hmm.
moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so hard to understand them. If I wonder if that knowledge that, everything a person does is to really protect their self-esteem and their well-being, and if we do not
Mm-hmm.
understand why, how does that protect you, right?
Yes. We have all emotions that are coming up, emotions that are coming up or that are, deeply suppressed.
Mhm.
Talking to someone, even it doesn't have to be a professional. It's great if there is,
Yeah.
but to someone that you feel like you can trust, where you can kind of, I'm doing this, right, as a way to get maybe what someone else is doing, or what has not worked, because we don't know what works. We could only assume what works, what makes sense based on how we grew up, what has always worked for us. And I think maybe that's one of the things, part of transitioning, is maybe tapping into some of our experiences, what has always worked for us and what has not worked for us, what can work for us. And there's so many websites nowadays
Yeah.
that can help us
Mhm.
with, whether it is writing things down, putting a schedule for the family. Um, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of different options that we can do nowadays to bring a balance.
Yeah. And those schedules and what we practice on also may change from week to week or from month to month.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking for the month of September, how can I use my breaks as a way to develop a skill? And for me, with the guitar, if I could, five strums of learning the F chord is the chord that I have the most difficult time with because it's just such a weird
Mm-hmm.
position and
Mm-hmm.
I never ever master it for some reason. And could I for the month of September, my transitional breaks would be the F chord and perhaps handstands. So I'm trying to clear up this wall here. Between sessions, I could, do a handstand.
But that's actually a good point too, to bring up forth, is maybe for each month give ourselves almost something that we would like to learn,
Mm.
right? Obviously, we
Let's
have to be
focus
quite
on.
specific with what realistic with what is it that we can learn, right? We're not gonna go ahead and go for something that takes years to learn or to become experienced with, but maybe something that makes sense.
Yeah, a little different because, reading
Right,
an article as a way to take a break may not really be allowing our brain to take a break,
right, right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I guess yeah, we've got to be mindful and careful and thoughtful about how it's going to work for us. And, is it an appropriate match to what we consider a transition or a catharsis experience, or whether it is re-energizing for us?
Mm-hmm.
Especially
Very
if
much so.
5 minutes or 10 minutes between sessions where you've got to go check on your child.
Yes. Give them a hug.
Use the bathroom,
I love those.
your homework,
Yes.
and then if they're doing well, what if they were not doing well? And
Yes.
how do
Yes.
you transition back to work and be,
Yes.
you know, a
We
nurse?
can do that. Yes, we can definitely do that. I guess maybe we can even do it with our partners, right? Kids and partners,
Yeah.
leaving notes, even if you don't want to leave a note. I mean, sometimes we don't have good relationships with our partners, right? That's like
Yeah.
another topic, right?
That's
But
yes.
once again, the frustrations will be there, but sometimes we have to let go of the frustrations and to see what it is that we can do to make things also better.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think that's what frustrations give us an opportunity to do, to get better at attending to our needs or to our unmet needs or to our
mm-hmm,
hearts. When
mm-hmm,
I'm angry, I have to take care of what makes me angry.
mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
How does the wise man in me, how does the nurturer within me, how does the protector within me, how does the joyful version of me enter into me and take care of the hurt part within me? Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think transition transitions, right, or transforming rather, part of that transformation is variation, that we discover more parts of ourselves. and
Mm-hmm.
discover more capacities and abilities or the development of them towards our transformation during times of transition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier said than done, of course, because as
Transition
we live,
to
sorry,
to, I was going to say transitioning into who it is that we would like to be, right? Who do we envision ourselves to be?
right, right,
And we can use
exactly.
our frustrations and anxieties and um, the positives and the negatives
Yeah,
and to apply it into what it is that we want, we truly want.
right. Because every
Yeah.
scenario, right, in contrast,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem to be in alignment that makes us feel bad. We
Mm-hmm.
think like, okay, this is my path and this is my journey. How do I use this experience that I don't feel good at as a way to practice becoming better,
Mm-hmm.
feeling good? How
Yes.
fast can I get there? How fast can I focus on just feeling good? I may not have a solution, but I don't have a solution and I don't feel good. That's a double whammy. So at least let me return to at least self-soothing and
Mm-hmm.
feeling better.
Even if it's temporary, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all things are temporary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we get a better perspective, and we can make better decisions with better feelings. Good thoughts lead to good feelings, lead to good behavior, good
And
decisions.
gratitude too. Being grateful for what we have. Yeah.
Frightful thoughts lead to frightful feelings, lead to frightful decision making, lead to frightful actions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a sequential order or cause and effect in our psychology, in how we feel and how we perceive to how we then manifest.
Yeah, very
Probably.
much so.
Yeah. So it definitely is, and life is never lacking
Mm-hmm.
of frustration and fearful.
Well, this was a beautiful session
Yeah.
on transitioning back to work with whether it is as adults or transitioning back to school for kids, whether it is that they're fully in school or I'm sorry, fully remote or hybrid
Yeah.
education. So we're all transitioning and it can be difficult, but it can also be great. So this was a good time, and I hope our viewers enjoyed this and are looking forward to more. And please, if you have any questions for those that are looking and watching this, please subscribe and leave us some comments below as to what it is that you would like to discuss maybe in the next few weeks. We are on this on a weekly basis. This is our goal for us as two professionals that are coming together to do these recorded sessions.
Yeah.